If you want to generate chibi style art with AI, which tool should you actually use? There are a lot of so-called chibi makers out there right now, but most of them are basically just filters. They take a character, shrink the body, make the head bigger, and call it a day. But if you actually want to design a chibi character, control the outfit, the expression, the pose, that's a completely different story. Now, in this video, I tested a few of the most popular tools to find the best tools for generating chibi style art in 2026, and more importantly, which ones actually give you control instead of just presets. Now, before jumping into the actual tools, I do want to quickly define what actually makes a good Chibi AI generator, because this is where most tools fall short. First is prompt control. Can you describe exactly what you want, like outfit details, accessories, or expressions? Or does the tool just ignore half of your prompt? Then there's style quality. Does it actually look like chibi anime art or just a generic cartoon with a big head? Consistency is another big one. If you generate the same character twice, does it still look like the same character? And finally, customization. Can you change poses, expressions, and details easily, or are you stuck with whatever the AI gives you? So, to test all of this properly, I used the exact same prompt across all tools. The main test prompt was chibi anime girl with silver twin tails, red eyes, wearing a black and gold magical girl outfit with ribbons and a star-shaped brooch, holding a glowing wand, cheerful expression, pastel pink background. Now, I started with Midjourney, which is known for producing really polished images. Now, the results looked good at first glance. Nice colors, clean rendering, but when you zoom in, you start noticing things. Some of the outfit details, like the ribbons and the brooch, weren't fully accurate, and the proportions sometimes leaned more toward small anime character rather than true chibi proportions. It looked nice, but it didn't fully follow the prompt. Then I tested stable diffusion. Now this one is a bit more flexible depending on how you use it, but with a standard setup, the results were mixed. Some generations captured the chibi style decently, but consistency was a problem. Facial features would shift slightly, and small details like accessories or expressions weren't always reliable. It is powerful, but it requires more tweaking to get consistent chibi results. Then I moved on to Tsubaki 2 on PixAI, which is specifically built for anime style generation. Now right away, the difference in approach is noticeable. Instead of trying to adapt a general model to chibi, this one is clearly designed with anime proportions and styling in mind. Using the same prompt, the output followed the description much more closely. The twin tails were shaped correctly, the red eyes were consistent, and details such as the ribbons and star-shaped brooch actually stayed intact instead of being simplified. The proportions also felt much closer to the chibi. Larger head, smaller body, but still balanced. Now, what stood out here even more was consistency. I generated a second version of the same character with a different expression and pose, and it still looked like the same character. That's something a lot of tools struggle with. You can also take it a step further and generate full character sheet, front, side, and back, which is something most general purpose tools don't really handle well. Now, another thing that's worth mentioning is that PixAI is built for specifically anime creators. It has a super large community where you can browse and reuse prompts and settings, which definitely makes it easier if you're not sure how to write prompts yourself. It's also free to try, so you can definitely experiment without committing to anything. I also ran a second test prompt to see how these tools handle variation. Chibi boy knight in silver armor with cape, holding a tiny sword, determined expression, fantasy forest background, soft watercolor style. Now this helps test male characters, different styles, and more detailed environments. Again, the general purpose tools produced decent images, but they often simplified the armor or lost some of the style direction. With Tsubaki 2, the armor details held up a lot better, and the overall look stayed closer to what you'd expect from chibi fantasy art. So, putting everything side by side, a few things become clear. General tools like Midjourney are great if you want something visually appealing quickly. Stable Diffusion is flexible if you're willing to tweak and experiment. But when it comes to Chibi specifically, especially if you care about outfit details, expression control, and consistency, a purpose-built model starts to make a noticeable difference. So, if I had to summarize it simply, if you just want a quick Chibi style image, a general tool might be enough. But if you actually want to create Chibi characters with control, design them, adjust them, reuse them, PixAI with Tsubaki 2 feels much more aligned with that workflow because it's built specifically for anime. So if you want to try it yourself, I'll leave a link in the description down below so that you can test it out. Also, make sure to let me know in the comments down below which Chibi generator that you have been using or would use, because I'm definitely curious to see how your results compare. Having said that, that'll be all for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.